As dawn breaks over ancient Rome, imagine the bustling forum, its cobblestones warm beneath the sandals of aediles, the stern enforcers of the empire's quirkiest decrees. Picture the vibrant mosaics of cloaks dyed beyond permitted hues, a silent protest against the unseen laws that dictated fashion and freedom. Feel the tension in the air as the sun casts long shadows on women marching against the lex oppia, challenging gold capping and carriage bands. Immerse yourself in the intoxicating scent of forbidden wine beneath the stars and the furtive whispers of those evading the kiss curfew, each one risking public disgrace for a stolen sip. Tonight, unravel the stories of ambition, defiance, and survival beneath Rome's statuesque facades, where even the colour purple bore the weight of imperial death. Join us in an immersive journey back to an empire ruled by rules, where each law exposed the fragility beneath stone arches, the cracks in Rome's mighty visage. This was Rome, dazzling yet dangerous, its weirdest laws mingling with triumphs and betrayals to craft an era as vivid as Tyrian dye. Step into the heart of ancient Rome, where the city's ceaseless vitality pulses through its grandiose structures and vibrant marketplaces. Amidst this dynamic setting stood the aediles, magistrates entrusted with safeguarding public order and standards. Their responsibility extended far beyond mere infrastructure maintenance. They delved into the private spheres of Roman citizens, particularly in matters as seemingly trivial, yet profoundly telling as fashion. The aediles, chronicled by Cicero, wielded a power unimaginable today, an authority that dictated even the colour of your clothing. This chapter ventures into the peculiar yet significant realm where the fashion police roamed, ensuring dress codes remained aligned with Rome's societal norms. In the very heart of Rome, the Forum served as a stage for commerce and politics, its atmosphere perpetually charged with scrutiny. Here the aediles prowled, keen to detect any deviations from sumptuary laws, which adeptly regulated the attire of Roman citizens. A simple garment could trigger fines or public humiliation, as these laws were not merely about financial restraint, but a reflection of moral and social values. Gellius, in his Attic Nights, captures the essence of these regulations, a tool to temper excess and maintain a delicate societal balance between Rome's varied classes. Colourful dyes, for instance, were reserved for festivals, their use confined to preserve solemnity and reverence in daily life. The Roman obsession with controlling garment colours reveals an intricate tapestry woven from economic interests and class distinctions. Vibrant dyes, prized luxury items were often a linchpin in Rome's economy, enabling the affluent to stand apart from the common populace. Wax tablet receipts from Pompeii show that these regulations were not idle formalities, but rigorously enforced, with fines for improper cloak dye, underscoring the economic weight behind fashion choices. Such laws served dual purposes, regulating personal expression and safeguarding Rome's economic fabric by maintaining visible distinctions of status and allegiance. To grasp the mindset behind these odd regulations, one must embark on a journey through the Roman psyche, a culture steeped in virtue, temperance, and their public display. The aediles did not just mete out arbitrary fines. Their actions echoed the Stoic ideals of simplicity and restraint. In the Roman worldview, unchecked luxury eroded societal values rooted in austerity and modesty, prompting these legal boundaries to reflect the city's philosophical and ethical ethos. As Rome's grandeur burgeoned, these laws sought to counterbalance social and moral upheavals by attributing deep significance to outward appearances. The aediles walked a fine line as both enforcers and guardians of societal morality. Their task was twofold: punitive in teaching restraint and protective in preventing moral ambiguity. The power they wielded, dramatised vividly by Cicero, balanced enforcing public decorum and navigating the corruption inherent in such authority. Fashion policing offers allegories for the tense equilibrium between control and liberty, encapsulating the broader tensions of a society continually caught between tradition and change. Yet the Roman populace did not simply acquiesce. Resistance simmered beneath the surface. Artistic ingenuity met prohibitive laws head-on as Romans sought creative ways to bypass sartorial confines, weaving a narrative of defiance and ingenuity. From simple non-compliance to organised protests, their assertive spirit illustrated a continual dialogue between institutional power and individual ethos. Such resistance tells a tale of society's dual nature, where obeisance met audacious rebellion. For Romans, clothing was not just a necessity, it was a declaration of identity, a silent testament within a rigid social hierarchy. Despite the aediles' efforts, citizens continuously carved niches for their individuality, highlighting persistent efforts to navigate the rules that defined them. Fashion, thus, was not merely about fabric, it was a battleground where individuality sparred with state control, revealing layers of complexity within personal and public identities. Historical anecdotes, threads of personal defiance woven through the broader political landscape, pepper this landscape with insights. Amid these stories, grounded in the works of Cicero and Gellius, are echoes that transcend centuries, pointing out humanity's perennial struggle between regulatory conformity and expressive freedom. Reflecting on these fashion laws, their resonances with modern society become evident. Our journey has peeled back the surface of ancient regulations to reveal a classical perspective on the eternal tug-of-war between order and self-expression. Just as in Rome today, attire and regulation intersect in an ongoing conversation about identity, personal freedom, and societal norms. As we depart from the dust and drama of ancient Roman streets, these reflections inspire contemplation on how cultures, both past and present, endeavour to craft themselves within the confines of law, tradition, and individuality. In the dark, desperate years of 215 BC, during the Second Punic War, Rome found itself grappling with threats both real and perceived. Hannibal, the Carthaginian general, cast a long shadow over Roman lands, leading the city to economic uncertainty and perpetual urgency. In a legislative bid to conserve scarce resources, the Roman Senate enacted the Lex Oppia. This law targeted the opulence of women, forbidding them from possessing more than half an ounce of gold, donning vibrant garments, or riding in carriages within city boundaries. While framed as a financial necessity, the Lex Oppia transcended mere economics, intertwining with the fabric of social morality and control. Chronicler Livy offers rich narratives that connect these sartorial impositions to patriotism and sacrifice. In controlling women's expressions of luxury, the Roman state wielded power over public order, revealing a society where the personal and political were deeply interwoven. This stringent law reflected an admiration for the famed Spartan lifestyle, known for simplicity and military discipline. Roman lawmakers sought to channel these virtues, aiming for resilience and unity in a city fraught with external threats. By enforcing austerity, the Romans hoped to galvanise a spirit of collective sacrifice, ensuring that every citizen, regardless of rank, contributed in the Republic's sustenance. Simplifying garb was more about ideological conformity than genuine economic relief, looking to bolster morale and solidarity as battles raged. Sacrifice on the home front echoed the valour demanded on the battlefield, binding social classes tightly in a shared struggle. Yet the public reaction to the Lex Oppia was a tumultuous mixture of patriotism and disapproval. Some Roman citizens, fervent in their animosity towards Carthage, embraced the law as a symbol of unity and necessity. However, many chafed under its constraints. For women stripped of jewellery and colourful garments, the law felt like an encroachment upon personal freedom and familial status. This discontent quietly simmered beneath the veneer of compliance, breaking into moments of dissatisfaction. Behind closed doors, enforcement of the law wavered, allowing for subtle acts of rebellion. In private, women found ways to defy the ban, adorning themselves with the beloved adornments Rome's law sought to remove. This resilience highlighted the enduring human spirit against enforced simplicity, showing adaptability amid constraint. Change, however, lurked on the horizon. By 195 BC, discontent fused into tangible resistance, marking a new chapter for those oppressed by the Lex Oppia. Women of Rome, stirring from the imposed stoicism, organised a protest of remarkable scale. Livy's chronicles capture this mass mobilisation, women swarming the streets, a collective voice clamouring for liberation from outdated austerity. These protests, one of history's early instances of female civic action, were not just about clothes but a call for acknowledgement, autonomy, and recognition of contributions made during the war. As their protest echoed against the walls of the Capitoline Hill, they forced a powerful reconsideration within institutions that long ignored them. Inside the Senate chambers, the debates around repealing the Lex Oppia grew heated, a clash of ideals shaping Rome's cultural and moral identity. Advocates for repeal argued that the conditions necessitating the law no longer existed. With the war over and Rome stabilising, they saw no reason to deny citizens the liberty to reflect personal and collective prosperity through dress. Economic resurgence meant luxury was not frivolity, but a testament to victory and divine favour. Senators eager for repeal championed a free, flourishing Rome, challenging the rigid moralism of men like Cato the Elder, who feared the loss of simplicity would degrade societal virtues. Cato's impassioned speeches warned against a tide of luxury and its potential to corrupt the foundational Roman pragmatism. He spoke of decadence eroding discipline and a society spiralling into envy and moral decay. These debates crackled with fervour, senators ardently defending tradition, clashing with those yearning for progress. The decision loomed as one of the most contested in the Senate's annals, a pivot point between conservatism and change. Eventually, the voices demanding repeal triumphed. The Lex Oppia met its end, marking a historic shift in Roman society. This victory transcended the sartorial, signalling a deeper transformation, where female agency found a vital expression in public life. Rome emerged vibrant, its streets once muted now alive with the hues of freedom and identity. The lifting of restrictions rejuvenated public spaces, and the story of Lex Oppia became emblematic of historical resilience. The repeal left enduring reflections on power, gender, and identity, bridging ancient struggles with modern discourse on governmental scope and individual liberty. As the dust of history settles, the tale of Lex Oppia remains a vivid tableau, illuminating the tensions between tradition and progress, individuality and collectivity. A reminder of a past marked by paradox, it invites contemplation on modern echoes of reform and resistance, urging us to remember Rome's captivating interplay of custom, change, and enduring resilience. In the realm of ancient Rome, where power unfurled in dramatic shades, none was more coveted or controversial than the deep mystical Tyrian purple. This was not merely a colour, it was the essence of prestige, birthed from the murex sea snail along the distant coastlines of Phoenicia. As emperors donned garments dyed with this pigment, the boundaries between mere mortals and imperial divinity blurred. Tyrian purple draped emperors in majesty, yet for the fabric workers along the craggy Mediterranean, it was an enterprise marred by sacrifice. The labour-intensive process demanded countless snails and relentless toil under the blistering sun, where cauldrons bubbled with the scent of alchemy. It was an art, a spiritual rite passed down through generations, each hue capturing nature's wrath and humankind's perseverance. The heightened exclusivity of this dye elevated its value astronomically, turning a piece of cloth into a potent emblem of distinction. Within Rome's rigid hierarchy, purple became an immediate identifier, an instant mark of those who tread the corridors of power. Emperors, ever vigilant in guarding their divine-like supremacy, issued decrees that draped the shade solely on royalty. To see a general cloaked in this colour was to witness a visual narrative of military might aligned with celestial favour, while for citizens, a mere glance at such a fabric whispered of unapproachable authority. However, the allure of rebellion simmered beneath this tapestry of exclusivity. For Rome's aspiring elite, forbidden status granted by purple attire was irresistible, despite the looming doom shadowing any defiance of the emperor's command. Heavy penalties stalked those who dared to wear the imperial hue without sanction. Transgressors faced colossal fines, or worse, execution. Embedded within Pliny, the elder's writings, is the tale of the steadfast decrees, which curtailed an escalating trend of illegal dyeing. When fashion choices began to breach the social fabric, threatening to blend patrician with plebeian, emperors responded with laws as sharp as any sword, ensuring only those divinely predestined adorn themselves in purple's regality. Beyond regulating who could wear purple, imperial power extended its reach into the very sources of this prized dye. By exerting control over the dye's production, emperors entrenched their dominance, strategically limiting the dye's availability. The coveted murex snails transformed islands into fortresses, with vigilant guards patrolling for smugglers, daring to disrupt imperial monopoly. It was more than just a commodity. It was a means of underpinning Rome's status throughout sprawling territories, linking commerce tightly with control. The scarcity of Tyrian purple preserved a delicate balance of power, fundamental to the empire's political structure. Yet where imperial laws curtailed ambition, covert enterprise thrived. Traders navigating the hazy boundaries between lawfulness and rebellion transported more than just textiles. They also carried whispers of treason. Among this network, legitimate merchants facilitated cultural exchanges under imperial watch, while others skirted the law, spinning narratives justifying their illicit trade as defiance against oppressive regulation. These clandestine escapades cast some merchants as folk heroes, wily enough to elude capture and profit from slipping forbidden purple across empires. In the bustling marketplaces, the colour purple transcended clothing, weaving itself into the empire's socio-political tapestry. While the patricians basked in privilege, for the commoners, purple symbolised unattainable dreams and the ever-present fear of imperial wrath. A Roman's identity was undeniably entwined with the hue, meticulously categorising citizens within the sprawling empire. Emperors traversed Rome's streets cloaked in various shades, denoting imperial ranks and power levels, a visual token of their celestial right to rule. Meanwhile, purple became political currency within Roman governance. It signalled imperial favour and dictated allegiance, echoing a rhetoric of conquest and dominion over both people and provinces. Bejewelled in Tyrian glory, senators paraded its power and pledged fealty woven tightly within their flowing robes. Within scholarly chronicles, purple's role in reinforcing the empire's ideology is vividly documented, attesting to its vibrant political strength, as potent as Rome's legions. Legislation surrounding the dye reflects an empire intent on preserving class distinctions via finely drawn legal boundaries. The laws were straightforward. Imperial mandates warned of dire consequences for non-compliance, bringing the full weight of Rome's iron law down upon violators. This legal fortress sought to maintain order by demarcating social realms, fortifying the emperor's sartorial power against the ebbing chaos inherent in empire expansion. Though the physical empire waned, Tyrian purple's irresistible allure endures, its history a woven testament to humanity's aspirations and audacity. Within its fibres, the colours of empire continue to breathe life into tradition, their essence etched into the annals of history. As Tyrian purple dissolved into legacy, its story remains a potent symbol of the heights and depths to which humanity will go in pursuit of beauty, status, and dominion, living on if only in whispers carried through time. In the heart of ancient Rome, where the bustling forum brimmed with activity and intrigue, a law as peculiar as it was invasive governed the intimate lives of its citizens. Known as the ius osculi, or the law of the kiss, this decree allowed Roman husbands to kiss their wives and female relatives to ascertain whether they had indulged in forbidden wine. This was no romantic gesture. Rather, it was an embodiment of Rome's deeply embedded values of temperance and control. Its origins intertwined with the fear of Oscan indulgence, painting a social canvas where personal affection was repurposed as societal surveillance. The ius osculi thus ensured that women's virtues were not merely private, but a matter of public interest, intricately binding love with oversight in a dance of power dynamics. While it might seem an oddity, the kiss curfew dug deep into the roots of Roman gender norms, asserting that female virtue must be safeguarded to preserve familial honour. Through this intimate inspection, Roman society reinforced its patriarchal order, perpetuating control over women's conduct. Each kiss, therefore, was not merely a check on sobriety, but a symbolic imprint of authority. Analysing this custom reveals the layers of surveillance wrapped in personal relationships, where love, power, and societal expectations intermingled. Amid the Roman preoccupation with patriarchy, this regulation echoed the tensions of personal liberty against societal order, casting light on ancient marriages caught in a curious web of affection and domination. Plutarch, in his insightful work Roman Questions, captured the drama of this law's enforcement. his narrative pulled back the veil on the serious implications for those caught defying the kiss curfew, with punishments like public flogging for women who dared sip wine, accentuating the stigma attached to such defiance. Plutarch's account was more than a record. It was a sharp critique of these extreme measures, underscoring the societal obsession with controlling women's bodies. His observations unveiled the broader anxieties about women's roles, offering a tapestry of satire and historical intrigue. Within Plutarch's words, whispers of resistance echoed, as women quietly defied these regulations, showcasing resilience in a patriarchal world. The enforcement of the kiss curfew did not merely punctuate domestic life, it permeated social strata, confronting married women with layers of suspicion. This shadow of vigilance blurred the lines between personal and communal, transforming the home into a sphere of inspection. Here, what should have been a sanctuary of warmth morphed into an arena for enforcing authority. This nuance added an unsettling drama to gender relations, painting a picture of suspicion and control where societal norms dictated the portrayal of virtue over vice. For Roman men, this rule bolstered an image of moral guardianship, while for women, the societal worth tethered precariously to their perceived virtue loomed large. Each public scandal and accusation reinforced conformity, tracing an invisible line of defiance beneath societal expectations. The echoes of Cato the Elder's staunch rhetoric against female drinking, as captured in his works such as Origines, reverberated with visions of morality teetering on the brink of decline. For Cato, the spectre of women having any semblance of autonomy equated to societal decay. Thus, his works reinforced the role of men as custodians of moral order. Yet, in his vociferous denunciations lay an unintended irony. His fears pointed to the very agency he sought to suppress. The kiss curfew, thus, served dual purposes. It was both an instrument of control and a spark for latent debates on identity and agency. Within Cato's monologues lay a narrative of challenge, exposing the resilience of women navigating Rome's rigid constraints. Roman women often found ways to assert their agency amid these oppressive norms. Instead of submitting to complete surveillance, they engaged in acts of quiet defiance. Whispered legends spoke of clandestine sips of wine shared among confidants, revealing a subtler form of rebellion. With creativity and wile, they manipulated the confines of this regulation, defying the boundaries imposed upon them. These tales, though fragmented, told of an enduring spirit that resisted suppression within a male-dominated society, spotlighting the intricate dance of resistance as they carved fragments of autonomy, even in an environment of stringent oversight. As time marched on, the kiss curfew evolved beyond mere regulation to become the stuff of legend and folklore, passed down in whispered echoes through generations. It became emblematic of a broader narrative, a symbol of persistent female resilience against constrictive societal rules. These stories not only immortalised ancient struggles, but also served as allegories for critiquing women's resistance throughout history. As historical narratives transformed, the kiss curfew offered nuanced reflections on gender dynamics seen in modern discourse on autonomy and control, proving that even as the world changes, the shadows of such past struggles linger within the layers of contemporary society. In the swirling hub of ancient Rome, where power and social distinction intertwined at every corner, a peculiar law known as the Lex Rossia Theatralis emerged in 67 BC. This regulation was more than a directive on seating arrangements. It was a declaration of social hierarchy, introduced by Marcus Lollius Roscius Otho. The law reserved the prestigious 14 rows in theatres for the equites, a class of Roman citizens distinguished by their wealth and influence. Positioned below the senatorial class yet towering over the plebeians, these knightly equites basked in this privilege, as theatres illuminated the intricate layers of Roman society. The seating was not simply about offering a better view, it was a visible testament to one's rank in the social order. In theatres where the elite and less privileged congregated under the same roof, social strata were laid bare for all to witness. This was the Republic doing much more than managing theatre dynamics. It was codifying a hierarchy that played out on the grand stage of public life. The theatres became a vibrant canvas of Roman society, echoing the demarcations of class as loudly as any orator from the rostra. The Lex Roscia Theatralis was a proclamation that even the joy of entertainment could not escape the grip of social status, reminding all Romans of their place within the intricate ladder of the Republic. This seating law was not just about theatre logistics, it was a vehicle for cementing civic identity, asserting the supremacy of the equites while subtly demarcating the divides that coursed through the Roman populace. The grandeur of Rome's theatres extended beyond performances. They were public arenas where citizens of all ranks engaged with cultural narratives, stewed in identity, and bore witness to the ebb and flow of societal discourse. Seating was indeed symbolic, a marker of distinction, and an avenue for public assertion of one's prestige. In these spaces, where the spectacle of theatre unfolded, the social order became part of the performance, offering patrons a mirror of their societal standing. Amid the laughter and cheers, a stern reminder resonated. One's place in society was as immutable as the theatre's stone pillars. The equites, beneficiaries of the Lex Roscia Theatralis, showcased how the dynamics of power played out beyond the stage. With roots in commerce and finance, they bridged the divide between senators and the common masses. The law was an acknowledgement of their rising influence as Rome's empire burgeoned. Wealthy financiers who wielded economic clout that even senators acknowledged. By rewarding their standing with prime theatre seating, the state recognised the equites as vital cogs in the machinery of governance. This legislation was about more than hierarchy. It was a nod to the shifting patterns of power, an attempt to stabilise Rome's social contract as the Republic expanded its reach. Amid this backdrop, ordinary Romans found their own means of expression: graffiti. The theatre of Balbus, much like other venues, became a canvas for citizens to critique and question laws like the Lex Roscia Theatralis. Scribbles mocking the plebeians creeping into the superior aisles mirrored a quiet rebellion against the rigid class distinctions enforced by such legislation. Graffiti was more than ink on stone. It was an enduring testament to resistance, a voice in the crowd pushing against the invisible walls of social stratification. This unspoken dialogue captured the essence of silent dissent, reflecting an undercurrent of dissatisfaction amid the Republic's backdrop of order and tradition. The Lex Roscia Theatralis straddled cultural and political lines. It was a theatrical expression of Rome's societal narrative. By formalising zones for the equites, Marcus Lollius Roscius Otho painted a picture of Rome's hierarchy during political shifts and economic transitions. The move was both a stabilising strategy and cultural commentary, highlighting not only the esteem held for the equites, but also the Republic's effort to harmonise tradition with the turbulent currents of change. As Rome grappled with expansion, the law encapsulated a recalibration of norms, offering insight into how societies use legislative boundaries as both a progression and preservation tactic. For Romans across the spectrum, theatre was more than an escape. It was a replay of social drama, occurring as much in the seating arrangements as in the acts themselves. Plebeians glimpsed the splendour of elite life from afar, while the equites enjoyed a parallel performance, reinforcing their social superiority to all who watched. The theatres thus emerged as great equalisers and social exhibitions, uniting classes under one roof, but keeping them firmly segregated. This shared experience, though tinged with inequality, was a dance of societal roles, each class displaying their part in the Roman tapestry. The law's acceptance was not without opposition, but reflected broader societal norms, which many could not envision the Republic without. The complexities of identity and pride in one's societal niche often outweighed the discord of uneven legislation. This acceptance highlighted Rome's deeply entrenched class consciousness, where citizens found value in status over collective upheaval. Literature of the era painted these social undercurrents in vivid strokes, with Cicero and others capturing contemporary sentiment through biting satire, using irony to critique laws that cemented class divisions. These works provided a platform for subtle contestation, enriching the social discourse with layers of perspective while reinforcing norms. The legacy of Lex Roscia Theatralis extends beyond Rome, resonating in modern dialogues on class and privilege. It offers a historical lens through which timeless societal dynamics, governance, hierarchy, and identity are better understood. While contemporary class structures differ, the underlying endeavour to define and control social dynamics persists. This Roman law serves as a narrative thread across time, teaching us about the complexities of social stratification and offering lessons in leadership and adaptability within the ceaseless march of civilization. The Lex Roscia Theatralis invites us to reflect on humanity's enduring stories, tales woven from the heart of theatres and cast into the expanse of eternity. In an era marked by upheaval and a society in flux, Augustus ascended as Rome's first emperor with an agenda to preserve the empire's future. The declining birth rates among the elite troubled Augustus, as Rome's civil wars and social unrest threatened the very fabric of its aristocracy. It was in this climate of uncertainty, around the late 1st century BC, that Augustus implemented his marriage mandates, the Lex Julia de Maritandis Ordinibus, in 18 BC, accompanied by the Lex Papia Poppaea in 9 AD, formed the crux of Augustus's reforms, compelling marriage and childbearing as civic duties. For Augustus, this was more than governance. It was an effort to stitch together the unravelling tapestry of Roman values and ensure the continuity of noble bloodlines. The marriage mandates reached deep into the personal realms of Roman life, blending public duty with private existence. Unmarried men and childless couples bore the brunt of financial penalties. Augustus wielded laws like a craftsman uses tools, sculpting society into his vision to secure Rome's future. But these laws were not merely restrictive. They promised a world of privileges for these families teeming with children. Augustus envisioned a society where the prolific families stood at the helm of power, with political and financial incentives for fathers of 3 or more children, granting them elevated status in the political sphere and preferential treatment in public engagements. Still, the laws did not garnish universal admiration. For every carrot dangled by Augustus, a hefty stick awaited those who flouted the norms. Diatribes against bachelorhood and penalties for widows unwilling to remarry underscored a societal pressure that transcended mere legislation. It was a cultural decree. Women, though indirectly uplifted by their roles as mothers and family stewards, found themselves navigating a landscape fraught with societal expectations. While offered autonomy once denied, their newfound status was shackled to the duty of producing heirs for Rome's burgeoning civic legacy. Amidst Augustus's rhetoric of moral restoration, there lingered a political intent: reinforce the empire's strength through a stable aristocracy. Casting himself as the state's moral custodian, Augustus's reforms were calculated exercises in both governance and control. Marriage became a symbol of the concord between state and citizen, a stage where Augustus directed the ensemble cast of Rome's finest families. The real undercurrent, however, was unyielding political consolidation. With aristocratic lineages secured, Augustus could minimize threats to his rule, governing not just a city, but an era. Yet underneath the imperial edicts and moralistic posturing, resistance simmered. Wealthy Romans adeptly danced around these mandates, exploiting loopholes with the distinct flair for subversion. Adoption became a convenient tactic to skirt around penalties, while sham marriages fulfilled statutory requirements with minimal repercussions. Such strategies underscored tension, a collective groan against Augustus's intrusion into personal liberties. Calls for individual freedom became the rallying cry of a subdued rebellion, echoing through the marble chambers of the privileged who found themselves at odds with state intervention. These marriage laws politicised intimacy, interweaving personal affection with public obligation. The very act of mating, once private, stood under the watchful eye of the empire. Yet within this rigid structure, pockets of autonomy persisted. Extramarital liaisons and relationships with courtesans thrived, a subtle defiance of edicts that sought to legislate desire. Through Augustus's lens, sexual relations were civic duties, yet his vision unwittingly unveiled a stage for societal fracture, where personal agency clashed with state orthodoxy. As these reforms reshaped Roman familial structures, they transformed household dynamics and gender roles. Prolific fathers moved into positions of amplified influence, leveraging their reproductive success for social ascension. This societal reverberation bestowed women with greater agency within their domestic spheres, subtly shifting the locus of control. Yet the passage from personal choice to focused duty redefined traditional gender roles, infusing family structures with new tensions. History's judgment of Augustus's marriage mandates remains as intricate as their inception. While they spurred a demographic revival among Rome's elite, they also spurred sophisticated circumvention strategies. Scholars reflect on Augustus's moral campaign with both critique and acknowledgement, pondering if his legislative manoeuvres truly diffused Rome's social challenges or merely entrenched its hierarchies. Modern perspectives too linger on these enigmatic laws, drawing upon them as forebears to contemporary debates about state power and personal freedom. The echoes of Augustus's mandates are found not only within the legislative tapestries of ancient Rome, but across epochs and cultures through to modernity. The legacy of Augustus continues to inhabit the margins of our world, underpinning societal codes while illuminating the fragile interplay between governance and individual autonomy. By glimpsing into Augustus's definitive moves, we unravel a dialogue that transcends time, an exploration of power, obligation, and the human spirit's pursuit to harmonise state mandates with personal desires. The sun set on Rome as the city solemnly prepared to bid farewell to the departed, guided by the Lex Funeraria. Established in 509 BC, this ancient law sought to control the theatricality of Roman funerals, aiming to mirror the Republic's values of modesty and restraint. During an era where public displays of grief were creeping towards a spectacle of grandeur, this legislation emerged as a necessity to curb the excessive displays of wealth at funerals, turning them back to times of sincere mourning rather than competitive ostentation. The professional mourners added a dramatic flair to funerals, skillfully weaving between genuine sorrow and theatrical display. These individuals were hired specifically to amplify the sense of loss with their cries and laments, setting the funerary scene with an emotional depth that resonated through the streets of Rome. Yet, the lex funeraria's clampdown on extravagance targeted them, reducing their numbers and pulling back the curtain on the lavish spectacles that mourning had become. In doing so, the law sought to redirect the focus from these orchestrated displays to the more intimate, personal grief of the family. Music, a poignant aspect of Roman funerals, painted an atmospheric backdrop to the rituals with its haunting dirges. Flutists set the sombre mood, evoking reflection in their melodies. Yet this too came under legislative scrutiny, with the lex funeraria prescribing a cap on the number of musicians. This was an echo of Rome's anxiety over auditory excess as symbolic of societal imbalance, where loud, elaborate sound competed with the solemnity of true mourning. Hence, the law harmonised the soundscape, silently insisting on modesty that spoke as emotionally as any grand procession could. Beneath these legislations lay personal and societal tensions. Families wrestled with the expectations of grandeur imposed by society versus the restraint encouraged by law. Rome's elite, with their wealth, often found subtle ways to defy these rules, quietly flaunting their status even amidst apparent compliance. The less affluent, tethered squarely within the bounds of the lex funeraria, had no such liberties, drawing sharp lines of division even as funerary laws aimed for uniformity. Ironically, in attempting to equalise expressions of mourning, the law often highlighted disparities instead. Within this framework stood the noi decem, a sanctioned assembly of 10 mourners, encapsulating the intended restraint within the law. This limitation underscored Rome's desire to maintain order and avoid turning personal grief into a public spectacle of exaggerated sorrow. With fewer mourners, the funerals shifted their focus away from ostentation, illustrating Rome's commitment to communal modesty over individual flamboyance. The restraint preached by the lex funeraria articulated a cultural ethos that saw the intimacy of mourning as sacrosanct, even within public observation. Petronius, in his Satyricon, cast a satirical lens over the extravagances of nouveau riche funerals, critiquing those shamelessly breaching lex funeraria's stipulations. By weaving humour and criticism, Petronius highlighted the absurdity of such excesses, revealing how laws aiming for restraint were often dexterously subverted by wealth and influence. His narrative painted a vivid picture of how Rome's pursuit of unanimity often stumbled amidst the vanity and status game still deeply embedded in the culture. Beyond the traditional flute, the unexpected inclusion of trombones added another layer to funerary rites. Although not explicitly governed by the lex funeraria, their brassy sounds painted a bold auditory picture, cutting through the air like declarations of loss. These brass elements illustrated the delicate interplay between cultural expression and legislative regulation, where personal touches either clashed with or complemented Rome's funerary traditions. Such adaptations reflected evolving music styles and depicted the tension between individual artistic expression and communal standards. At the heart of the lex funeraria lay a reflection on Rome's ideals. temperance, modesty, and a deep respect for societal welfare. The law chronicled an attempt to marry personal mourning with public regulation, encouraging Romans to weave their private grief within the fabric of shared ethical norms. This entangled relationship between mourning and governance questioned the nature of public versus private expression, highlighting the paradox of law and emotion navigating the human experience within the chains of rule. Yet the contradictions between legislation and real life became apparent. Wealthy families oscillated between legal compliance and defiance, painting the lex funeraria as both a tool of unification and division. These contradictions illustrated the complex landscape where law tried to standardize human expression amidst a diversity of social norms and economic capabilities. Though the lex funeraria aimed for unity in mourning, its ripple effects were varied and multifaceted, illuminating the eternal interplay between control, individuality, and the collective. Ultimately, the lex funeraria carved out lessons in restraint that echoed through time. Its legacies, transcending the ancient world, highlighted a continuous dialogue between tradition and innovation, reflecting society's fragile balance between emotion and decorum. As Rome grappled with these funeral laws, it engaged with timeless questions about life, death, and the nature of public and private expression. The lex funeraria thus remains more than a historical document. It is a testament to humanity's enduring quest for balance amid the complex interplay of emotion, tradition, and law. In the heart of ancient Rome, where ambition and opulence thrived amidst crumbling stones and pulsating markets, dining tables became battlegrounds for deeper societal values. Amidst the rise and fall of empires, Roman society, steeped in a tradition teetering between indulgence and restraint, enacted sumptuary laws that shaped its very fabric. These laws were born of necessity and desire, a dual effort to uphold Rome's cherished virtues of simplicity and to manage a burgeoning empire's resources. Sumptuary laws, peering skeptically at the elaborate feasts of the elite, imposed strict limits on extravagance, including the peculiar 161 BC decree that limited banquets to 3 courses. A singular fattened chicken per gathering was prohibited, emblematic of the Roman dilemma, the battle between austerity and excess. Feasts were reflections of a man's status, yet these regulations compelled hosts to navigate a delicate dance, publicly adhering to laws while privately plotting ways to skirt them. Culinary creativity flourished in kitchens where roasted chickens made forbidden appearances through boiling or steaming, presenting a facade of compliance. Such inventive defiance bewildered lawmakers, exposing the cunning blend of tradition and transformation nestled within Roman hearts. As dusk settled over tiled courtyards and torches flickered against stone walls, another ingredient of Roman intrigue emerged in the form of dormice, those fat-laden delicacies adorning the wealthiest tables. These creatures, often fattened in special glirariums, found themselves at the centre of legal whims that capped prices, forcing even the richest to exercise culinary restraint. Yet much like with chickens, these restrictions invited subterfuge. Hosts ingeniously garnished dormice, hiding opulence beneath layers of everyday provision. It was a delicate dance of legality and indulgence, where every course whispered tales of clever defiance beneath the veneer of conformity. In the midst of this culinary theatre, peacock tongues, a rarity wrapped in myth and allure, became clandestine trophies hidden within humble lettuce leaves. Here was the ultimate act of rebellion, against sumptuary laws, mocking their intent by transforming the dining table into a stage. Macrobius chronicled these exploits, capturing the irony and artistry of Roman society's elite, who orchestrated their feast with both reverence for tradition and a bold challenge to its constraints. Beneath the dining table's sheen lay profound social implications. The enforcement of these feasting laws extended beyond kitchens and banquet halls, rippling through Rome's economic landscape. By curbing lavish consumption, Rome sought stability amidst the bustling trade of commodities, warding off inflation and encouraging domestic markets to remain disciplined. Such economic orchestration demonstrated the empire's ability to wield its laws not just as edicts, but as tools steering societal order. Yet beyond stern decrees and fiscal prudence, social hierarchies revealed themselves through these regulations, seeking to maintain balance within Rome's intricate class structure. While the elite could revel in their lavish excesses, these laws prevented the new rich from crossing traditional boundaries, reinforcing the societal scaffolding of Rome. Here, public virtue danced a careful step with private ambition, teetering between adherence and indulgence, ensuring ancient Rome's gilded social balance remained unperturbed. However, for those who dared defy these sumptuary edicts, consequences loomed large. Breaching these sacred codes often led to not just financial penalties but also social humiliation. Violators subjected themselves to a public judgment enacted not only by the state but by peers who wielded reputation as both sword and shield. The Roman elite navigated this minefield with shrewd awareness, valuing their standing above excess and understanding that society's punishment could echo louder than any decree. These dining prescriptions were more than directives. They spoke to the larger tapestry of human identity, intertwining dietary habits with cultural narratives that cherish simplicity and discipline. Rome's ethos valorized agriculture and moderation, projecting an image of itself as a steadfast guardian of communal prosperity. Sumptuary laws thus not only dictated dining habits but reinforced moral fortitude, anchoring Romans to their illustrious heritage and instilling a legacy of virtue intertwined with vibrant indulgence. Though centuries have slipped away, dissipating the echo of Rome's banquets into history's fog, the impact of these laws lingers still. Present societies, sharing Rome's lineage, reflect their essence in customs scrutinizing excess and championing ethical restraint, a tribute to the moral compass forged in ancient halls of power. Even today's ethos, where simplicity meets the stage of prosperity, dips into a wellspring first stirred by Rome's legislative ingenuity, echoing a time when the balance of power and virtue mirrored an age where the past still breathes gently across the ages. In the heart of ancient Rome, a metropolis of chaotic vibrancy and intricate alleyways, the threat of fire slept like a dragon beneath the wooden floorboards and thatched roofs. With buildings leaning close enough to whisper, and a populace as dense as the jungle, the risk of conflagration was a spectre that haunted the city's dreams. It was amid this precarious urban sprawl that the Edict of the Vigiles was forged, a landmark decree, a primitive yet profound gesture towards communal safety. This edict mandated that every upper floor room house 2 full amphorae of water, ubiquitous vessels repurposed for defence against potential infernos. In its essence, the edict manifested an early ethos of shared vigilance, an expectation that every citizen would be a steward of their surroundings, ready to combat hellish flames before they could birth devastation. Presiding over the peace and pyrotechnics were the Vigiles, the watchful sentinels of the Roman night. Established by Augustus in 6 AD, these unsung protectors patrolled the twilight streets, armed with buckets, axes, and grappling hooks. They were not mere guardians but firefighters in the embryonic stages of the craft, leaders of a city's eternal quest to stave off the storm of embers that could, in the blink of an eye, erase entire districts. These were the figures who roamed the city after dusk, their presence a constant reminder of order maintained amidst chaos, ready to strike at smoke's first whisper. But it was the citizens themselves who bore the burden of fire prevention as both a communal duty and a personal safeguard against ruin. Under the stern gaze of the law, failure to comply could lead to hefty fines or public flogging, particularly for landlords of the insulae, those crowded tenements housing Rome's myriad classes. It was a harsh reminder of the law's rigours, as society's dance with survival as much a personal trial as a communal one. Defiance meant risking not only one's livelihood, but the safety of the entire community. A grave gamble in a city where the dice were frequently loaded against you. The Great Fire of 64 AD cast a long shadow over this precarious balance. As Rome blazed for 9 relentless days, Nero watched accusations swirl around his throne, rumours whispering that he sought to clear land for grandiose visions. In the wake of Orange ruin arose a groundswell of demand for reform. In response, Nero initiated significant changes, reconstructing Rome with wider streets and imposing stricter building codes that required more fire-resistant materials. This moment of devastation birthed long-lasting reforms, an epoch shift where proactive governance emerged from the ashes. Amid these laws and reforms, Rome wove stories of regulation-flouting landlords, cunningly sidestepping penalties with bribes or covert alternatives to the conspicuous amphorae. These tales reflect a society constantly balancing between adherence and evasion, where human creativity thrived even amidst the constraints of legality. Yet such ingenuity was paralleled by acts of communal solidarity, tales where necessity birthed alliances stronger than law. Central to the narrative stood Nero, a figure equal parts vilified and architect of change. Though history burdens him with infamy, the reforms under his rule, whether by intent or accident, shaped Roman urban ideology. With fire safety as a pillar, his policies reflected a city's ambition to rise resilient rather than languish in decay. His narrative reminds us that even in flawed hands, seeds of progress might be sown, paradoxical legacies lingering amidst the ruins. Rome's expansive forums and marketplaces, strategically positioned amphorae, and well-devised public spaces weren't mere civic conveniences but critical lines of urban defence. Amidst the grandeur of its architecture lay a tactical wisdom, attesting to a city's foresight in planning its survival. These spaces, bastions of community life, transformed into imperative buffers against the chaos of fire, turning aesthetic marvels into indispensable preserves of continuity. Here, under Rome's wide skies, communal planning was both a dance against disaster and a partnership in prosperity's endurance. Lastly, the layers of Roman society revealed in these fire laws showcase the patrician-fueled philanthropy that merged class responsibility with civic obligation. The wealthier often financed the implementation of fire codes and sponsored public works restoration after fires. Their patronage was not just a display of power, but a necessary mechanism to ensure a city's future. Thus the amphora, erstwhile container of life's simple pleasures, transcended into a symbol of pragmatic protection, a testament to Roman adaptability. the vessel stands as an eternal reminder that in Rome, every element of life was woven into the fabric of survival, echoing through time to narrate stories of ingenuity and resilience. Through it all, Rome's quest for safety marched forward, leaving an indelible blueprint on the annals of history, an empire's testament to the eternal conflict and collaboration with fire. As the 4th century dawned over the vast expanse of the Roman Empire, a transformation quietly unfolded. The mighty empire, once girded by an intricate web of laws that dictated attire, behaviour, and social rank, found itself at a crossroads. The Codex Theodosianus, a comprehensive anthology of laws, marked this turning point by repealing a host of sumptuary rules that once rigidly organised Roman life. These laws, as enduring as the aqueducts arching over Roman cities, began to erode, crushed not by barbarians but by the relentless chariots of time and progress. Yet, just as the collapse of a magnificent structure leaves in its wake the dust and echoes of its grandeur, so too did these laws linger in the collective Roman psyche. Romans, whether cobbler or senator, witnessed this legal metamorphosis with mixed emotions. While one might expect these ancient statutes to vanish rapidly, banished by modern inclinations, the reality was far more nuanced. Like roots deeply embedded in fertile ground, the customs these laws attempted to regulate clung stubbornly to the cultural fabric of Rome. Whispers of the toga police stinging like threads of smoke across a forum fire, and tales of a kiss curfew remained ingrained, representing an era where superstition danced hand in hand with ceremony. Although Rome evolved beyond these peculiar edicts, they continued to stitch the tapestry of its cultural memory, ensuring that the eccentricities of a bygone era lived on as vibrant threads woven into the heart of Roman folklore. As officials formally rescinded these regulations, their shadow lingered in Rome's bustling marketplaces and serene villas. Once compulsory, these customs morphed into revered traditions, honoured more for their ancestral significance than any legal obligation. Although the toga no longer required policing under watchful eyes, its symbolism persisted, a garment preserving the essence of Roman identity amid the winds of change. These ancient laws, though extinguished from the statute books, survived the ages as part of solemn gatherings and jubilant festivals, serving as tributaries to Rome's storied legacy. Through a kaleidoscope of popular memory, these laws transformed into legends, fading yet enduring amidst Rome's rich oral traditions. Folk memories grew lush with tales from an empire reflective of curiosity and remark. Within these stories, mystical elements mingled with morality, delighting audiences while permitting contemplation. Folklorists of late antiquity not only preserved these accounts, but enlivened them, transforming arcane laws into vibrant narratives, imbued with intrigue and ethical reflections. Each narrative, a lamp illuminating the opaque corridors of history, resounded as reminders of Rome's strange yet enduring decrees. Beyond their statutory applications, Roman laws acted as societal liturgies, marking thresholds of power, identity, and virtue among its citizens. With their demise came challenges and prospects for reshaping societal norms. The gaudy garments once restricted now symbolise shifting societal values. The legacy of such attire transcended mere fabric, reflecting deeply on the hierarchy that these colours once symbolised. A luxurious hue like Tyrian purple, previously reserved for imperial garments, seeped into wider society, painting a picture of Rome's changing social landscape. As these laws dissolved, Romans experienced an emancipation of identity, no longer tethered to archaic restraints yet held within their penumbral confines. The gradual dissolution of these laws was neither chaotic nor abrupt. Through it emerged lessons of prudence and insight. Elders and parents became keepers of the old edicts, imparting these tales as teachings imbued with moral hues to younger generations. Oral tradition, born within the void left by legal codes, steered social cohesion not by decree but through shared recollection. Romans did not merely forget, they reawakened the old edicts, crafting them into cultural fables repeated every generation. These narratives became the essential script fostering unity, weaving the threads of a collective past into the fabric of each societal present. With the unravelling of decrees mandated by the Caesars, symbols such as colour retained their importance. Though the rigid enactments surrounding colour dwindled from the legal code, their essence persevered, infused with memory and significance. Purple held its iridescent elegance, accenting societal changes, and other colours that once defined stature continued to echo old glories. This shift highlights continuity amidst change, a testament to the Roman spirit that redefined symbols while revering their deeply ingrained legacies. Colours painted the visage of Rome anew, helping narrate a tale of a civilization transitioning from empire to enduring folklore. As Rome's mighty legislative structure splintered, an intriguing shift occurred. Governance transitioned from rigid laws toward enduring traditions. The historian Ammianus Marcellinus captured this essence when he remarked on Romans' increasing tendency to be ruled more by custom than sword. In that shift, a lesson in Roman adaptability emerged. As laws vanished, the continuity of public order, woven through customs and stories, persisted. This subtle artistry of maintaining order without force showcased an inherent Roman resilience, adept at weaving tales of glory against the backdrop of decline. Thus, as the shadows of curious old laws lengthened with the ages, Romans crafted their stories anew, cherishing their vibrant legacies. They guided community life not through mandate, but through the enchantment of storytelling. In this transformation, Rome transcended its imperial past, standing timeless as a vital conduit of cultural memory. As we conclude this extraordinary journey through ancient laws, remember to like and subscribe for more tales that connect us to our shared past.